Why aren't you investing in real estate or buying rental properties? Did you know that 90% of all the millionaires, not only in USA but worldwide, become rich by owning real estate, rental properties, commercial properties? And also, did you know that buying real estate is the best asset, is the best investment out there? There was a study done by a Gallup poll, and they found out that investing in real estate is the best asset investment ever when you compare it to stocks, or you compare it to gold, or you compare it to savings account. So there's a reason why you may want to invest in real estate and start buying. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the fears that some of the buyers have in investing in real estate or investing anywhere. And then I'm going to talk about some of the ideas of where can you invest in real estate and how much money do you need to real estate? What if you don't have any money? So stay tuned. Let's get right into it to start your journey about investing in real estate, at least to start educating yourself. So the biggest fear when it comes to buying rental property or investment property is the fear or the myth that you need a lot of money and you don't have enough down payment. And that's not true. Everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, especially when it comes to buying a home and even your residential home, that you have to have 20% down to buy a property. Not true at all. That's a myth. In fact, most of the first-time buyers pay about 6% to buy a house. An average buyer pays anywhere from 15 to 20% to buy a house, not 20%. So to start buying into real estate or investing in real estate, you could buy with 0% down, you could buy with seller financing, or you could buy as low as 3.5% down. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say you're buying a duplex or a fourplex, and let's say you're buying something for $500,000 as a price. If you buy something for $500,000, let's say a duplex, which can be a rental property because you can stay in one house or one unit and rent out the other unit. So if you buy something for $500,000 and if you put 3.5% down, which is the government loan, and approximately 3.5% down can be about $16,000 to $17,000. That's all you need to buy a duplex or even a fourplex. In some of the states, you can buy a fourplex for $400,000. So you can stay in one of those units, rent out the others. So with a mere $15,000 to $20,000 down, you can own a rental property, stay in it, and have a positive cash flow because your other tenants are paying your mortgage using other people's money. So the notion that you need 20% down or you don't have any money is a myth. So you don't need a lot of money. You can start with as low as 3% down on a property. Let's say you can buy a house for $150,000 or $1 million, and you can buy for 3.5% down. Of course, there are limitations on which county you are in as far as how much of a price you can pay and get an FHA loan. So check with the lender. I mentioned also earlier that you can do seller financing. Well, as the rates go up and up and up, and as you know, a few years ago, the rates were 3%. Now they are almost 7%. When you buy rental properties, it's going to touch 8% soon. Who knows how long it goes. So during the higher interest rate times, a lot of the sellers will carry a seller financing. In fact, I'm showing a property right now. It's a commercial property, land with a development on it. The owner of that land, who has already approval to build investment property, is selling that land with a 3% down and a 3% financing on it up to 2 or 3 years. So that is seller financing. So I don't have to come up with $1 million to buy that property. I can give him a small deposit. I can have him carry the loan for 2 or 3 or 5 years. Once I have the money, I can go to the bank and get a loan and buy that land and start building on the development. So there's a lot of ways to do it. I've done it many times with my clients, and I'm doing it right now since the rates are higher. A lot of the sellers today with this higher interest rate have started offering seller financing, whether it's for 2 years or 3 years or 20 years. So again, you don't need a lot of money to start investing. The second fear why people don't invest in commercial property or rental properties or investment properties is they fear that they will lose money. Yes, there's always a fear of losing money. Hey, when you drive on the freeway, are you scared that you might hit somebody? Or when you fly, go on a vacation, do you have the fear that the plane will crash? Statistically, it's very low. Similarly, when you invest in a property, and of course, if you do your due diligence, buy at the right time with the right interest rate, with the right homework, checking the return on investments, you pretty much cannot lose money, especially in real estate compared to stocks. Let me give you an example. Historically, in the last 30 years, real estate values have gone up 288% over the last 30 years, which is 9% growth every year. Historical, this is nationwide USA. So even if you make a small mistake, your chances are the appreciation will make it up. So the fear that you will make a mistake, you should not go wrong. And one way to avoid buying the wrong thing or making a wrong decision is work with realtors like myself, where we have done investments personally and we've helped hundreds and hundreds of investors invest, and we are still helping. So if you have fears, if you have questions, feel free to call me. I can refer you to an agent, or I can talk to you personally and answer your questions. But the notion that you're going to lose money in real estate is very slim if you do your due diligence. And the one rule of thumb is you have to be doing business for long term. Then your chances of losing money in real estate are very slim. There's always a chance, but they're very slim. So I don't think that's a valid fear, although you are okay to have that fear and you can overcome that fear with some education, knowledge, and doing your due diligence and investing with the right people and getting the sound advice and expertise. The third reason people do not invest in real estate or have not started investing in real estate, whether it's rental property or commercial property, is they say they don't have enough time. Personally, I think that's just an excuse. It's like how many people want to go to the gym, and they should go to the gym, because I've been here in America for 40 years, and one thing I hear every freaking day is that I cannot lose weight. I cannot lose weight. Go to the gym. That's the easiest way to lose weight. Why don't they go to the gym? I don't have time. I don't have time. So with me personally, and sorry that I'm being mean on this, is that you are not making time to go to the gym. You do have enough time. We all have 40 hours of work. We have weekends. We have 50, 60 days off that we take on vacations and leave and all that. So when people say they don't have enough time, I think that's just an excuse. And here's the reason why I say that. And I don't want to be mean, but I want to give you an example. To invest in real estate, what if you spent 1 or 2 or 3 hours a week, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday? That's all. And hook up with an agent or an investor or a realtor or family or friends who have done it, and you invest 1 or 2 hours a week. That's it. And you finally buy one property. How much time do you really need? And once you buy a rental property, you can hire a manager, or renting and managing a property is not that difficult, although it does take some time. You don't need a lot of time. Once you invested, you're just waiting and waiting and waiting and see that 4 to 5% growth for the next 20, 30 years. So I think spending 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, depending on how involved you want to get, is well worth the time. So when people say, I don't have the time, I think that's an excuse, or it goes back to the fear of investing, or you just don't want to do it. Hey, and that's fine. But if you want to make money, if you want to get rich, if you want to grow your equity, you got to make some time. Just like if you want to get physically fit, or if you want to play baseball, or if you want to play basketball, you got to go practice. You got to make those 1 or 2 hours a week time. Once you have it, you're there. In real estate, you can stop working on it. But in games and other things, you have to keep practicing even once you get there. In real estate, once you buy a rental property, you can stop. Hopefully, you won't stop, because now you're going to buy a second or third property. So let's say you decided to buy, or you want to get into real estate investing. What are your options? What can you invest in? Well, I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 things you can start investing in, which is not very complicated, but at least you know where to invest and how to invest. Once you decide that you do want to buy, you do want to come up with some money or down payment, whether you borrow it or you get into partnership, or you have the money to invest, but you don't know where to invest. So I'm going to talk about a few areas where you can invest. The first and foremost is, if you own a home, or if you don't own a home, is buy a second home. You can pull the equity from your current home because the prices have gone up and you have equity in the home. Or if you have money already, buy a second home and rent it out. Or buy a duplex or a fourplex or a triplex, which falls in the residential. So it's easy to get a loan, and you can rent it out as 4 units or a duplex. Or if it's your first investment, stay in one and rent out the other 3. Those are one of the simplest ways to get started. Your basic bread and butter is your mom and pop rentals. And by the way, statistically, did you know that 72% of all the rental properties in USA are owned by mom and pop investors, not corporations, not the billionaires, not these corporations, but people like you and me, mom and pop investors, 72%. So you need to get in that area there, in that pie, and get your share of the rental properties. The other properties you can invest in, of course, I mentioned fourplexes, is if you want to go a step further, you can invest in multi-units, which is anything over 5 or more. So you can invest in 8 units or 10 units or 20 units or 40 or 50 units. Of course, if you're starting out and if you're not able to buy such big properties, you can create a partnership, collect money from 4 or 5 friends or family members, and then buy your 5 units or 10 units. And it's easy to qualify on commercial units because they look at the property income of the units and help you qualify. So it's easier to qualify on multi-units than it may be on your first rental property. The other way to invest, this is very simple, is you buy land. Let's say you come across some land and you got a good deal on it. You can build a house on it, or you can build a couple of units on it, or 4 units, and then rent it out or sell it as you're building it. So if you have land or have access to land, and if you know some construction or know a contractor, get a hold of them, build on it, and sell it. The other way to build land, and I'm doing one right now as we speak, I sold the land 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, is you buy land. Let's say its zoning is agriculture or zoning is residential. You go to the city or the county and change the zoning on it. So as soon as you change the zoning on it and get an approval, let's say you buy a raw land that is agricultural based and it's on a highway, and you buy the land for a good price because it's raw land, let's say agricultural land. You go to the city, change it to a commercial land or commercial title, and let's say you can build a hotel on it and the value doubles. I'll give an example. As I mentioned earlier, I sold a land 20 acres in the desert 3 years ago. It was 20 acres and they bought it for $2 million. And it was mixed use agriculture and residential, but it was on a highway 395 on a very busy corner street, signalized corner. So my clients, which was a group of 5 people who bought this land, went to the city, split the lot into 5 parcels, 10 acres for multi-units, and then the other 10 units, other 10 acres, they split into 5 lots, and they went to the city and got an approval for a car wash, a gas station, hotel, and 2 restaurants. So just the 10 acres, I have just listed that right now for $4 million. So here's the scenario that I want to give you. They bought it for $2 million, 20 acres. They split it into 6 parcels. One is residential multi-units, which they own right now and going to keep it because they're going to build on it. But the other 10 acres, it's up for sale for $4 million. So if they sell it for $4 million, they're going to make $2 million profit, gross profit. Of course, there's cost for getting your titles and permits and all that. So they will make a good $1 million or more, plus they still own 10 acres. So that's one way to do it, is buy land, change the zoning, improve the value, and cash out. The other simple way, and a lot of the investors, beginner investors do this, is you find a property that needs help, that is not maintained. So it's called fix and flip properties. And you see on TV this all the time. Find a fixer property or a property that's been fire damage or flood damage, or some owners could not afford to fix it. So it's really in a bad condition. So you buy it, let's say at $500,000, you invest $100,000 fixing it up. It may take you 2 or 3 or 4 months, and then you can sell that property for $800,000, and you can make easily $100,000, $200,000 in 4 or 5 months. So those are fix and flip ways of investing. The other ways to invest is if you don't have enough money, or if you don't want to get involved into construction and finding these commercial properties and managing, and you just want to lay low because you're too busy and you have too many other things going, is invest in partnerships. I have done that myself. One of our friends 10 years ago, he bought land and built commercial properties, and he wanted over $1.5 million to invest. So what he did was he reached out to 4 or 5 of his friends and family, and we all invested a little bit each for the down payment or to cash out that lot for $1.3 million. And then once it was bought, that land was split into 4 lots and building 4 different properties on it. And currently the 4th one is being built as we speak. I have not done anything with the property. I have not gone to the city. I have not managed the properties, but I own properties in there because I was a silent investor, silent partner. That's a very easy way to do it. So that's called partnerships. Of course, talk to your accountant and your attorneys on how much money you can make and what are the tax advantages on any investment that you do. So that's a good way to get into business with friends and family or other people you may know in partnerships. The other big way to invest is in syndications. And again, I'm involved in one right now. We manage a fund where we find investors. In this case, we have an investment fund. We have like 25 members in it. Each of us put anywhere from $10,000 to $200,000 into the fund, and we have about $800,000 into the fund right now. And then what we do is we go find a property that is being built, usually apartments or office buildings. These are like $10 million, $20 million properties, and these investors are looking for other investors to bring money in. So if it's a $20 million project and they need $5 million down payment, they reach out to these syndications or partnership. So we have invested in 2 or 3 of these. Of course, our share is 2 or 3%, which is not a whole lot, but we're investing in $10, $20 million properties. And in my case, for example, if I invested $10,000 into this fund, and then the fund invests in this big property, my share will be 0.5 or 0.005. It's a very small amount. But when they sell it, if I invested $10,000, your return can be 3 to 5 times return. So in 2 or 3 years, I can make $30,000, $40,000 from that $10,000 investment, which is very safe, usually very safe, but that's one way to do it, micro investing. But it is a way out. But imagine if you have 10 syndications that you're involved in. So even if 2 or 3 of these syndications fail, you'll get return on your 7 syndications that you have. So that's another way to invest. So I also want to give you some pointers. Number 1 is that if you start investing, and the earlier you do, the better, because what I call the real estate clock starts in 30 years. So that means most of the loans are 30-year loans, including in investment properties. So if you buy a rental property, start paying that right now so that in 30 years it's paid off. Actually, you're not paying it, your tenant's paying off, which is an advantage because you're using other people's money. So the secret in rental properties is twofold, actually threefold. One is that it's going to appreciate without a doubt in the long term, and if you buy it right. Number 2 is that if you rent it out, your tenant is paying your mortgage, so you're using other people's money, a very smart thing that rich people do. And the third advantage, which I won't talk much about, talk to your accountant, is you get a lot of tax advantages, tax write-offs, tax benefits. So as far as I'm concerned, you really can't go wrong in investing in real estate. Call me if I can answer any questions or if I can refer you to someone. I'll be glad to talk to you, no obligation. My contact info is right here. Email me or call me. My link is also in the bio. Thanks again.